All right, Hive. Today we're going to be talking about hundredths, okay? What happens when you break that whole or that whole dollar into 100 pieces, which is the same as 1/100th or 1 penny, okay? And so this question here says, what are some ways to represent hundredths? And so really quickly, I'm going to go ahead and color in a number, color in. I'm just going to color this in, pretend I did a really good coloring job for you, okay? And then we're going to talk about the ways that you can represent these hundredths, okay? And so what I see here is I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of 100, which means I have 7 hundredths, okay? I have colored in 7 hundredths. 7 out of 100. Well, there are 3 different ways that they may ask you to represent that number. All right, and so I'm going to switch over here to my text. And so one way is they may ask you to represent it as a decimal, right? And so because we're working on decimals. And so when you hear 7 hundredths, you know you have zero whole. There's no whole thing filled in. If the whole thing was all solid blue, that'd be a whole. Okay, you'd have one whole sheet. So we don't have any of that. And I don't see a whole 10 bar filled in. Notice the whole 10 is not filled in, so there's no tenths. So you don't have a tenth. So there's none of that, but you do have 7 out of 100. And note, this is your hundredths place. So no tenths, 7 hundredths. So this is what we call decimal form, or they may call it standard form, right? Same as we do with regular place value. Another way they may ask you to represent this is fraction, as a fraction. And that's what we're most comfortable with because we just finished fractions. So when you hear me say 7 hundredths, you really know that you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of a total of 100. So you can also represent it as a fraction. And so we would say 7 out of 100 is fraction form, right? Is written as a fraction. You can also, there's one other way, and they had you do this yesterday too with your tenths, right? It was the last part of your tenths exercise, which is same as what we do with regular numbers, with our whole numbers. They have you write it in word form. That's right. So in word form, if I said 7 hundredths, right, in word form, we could do it here too. We would just say 7 hundredths. Let me stretch this box out a little bit and check that out. It's kind of a long word, hundredths. Okay, 7 hundredths. And so you have decimal form, fraction form. 7 hundredths is word form. Okay, now you'll also learn about like expanded form, like where you can actually kind of do an expanded form with bigger numbers. So with this one, you would say 0 plus, you would say 0 whole plus 0 tens plus 7 hundredths. There is an expanded form, but you really can't expand this one. Okay, so there is another way to do it. You can expand, but we're not expanding this one yet. All right, so now I'm going to try to clear all these really quickly. I'm going to go like this and go trash it, because otherwise it'll be on our next page. We've seen that in one of my videos before too, right? You most definitely have seen that. And then we're going to go like that and go clear. Super. All right, done. Moving on. All right, so here it's saying model. Here's the models, and then we need to write it as a decimal. So we're going to write an equivalent decimal in each of these, for each one of these models. So here in word form, I see 77 hundredths, 77 out of 100, and they want us to write that as a decimal. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go, I think I can do that. 77, I'm going to move my box, 77 hundredths. Well, I don't hear any whole, and 77 hundredths. Notice that means if I have 77 out of 100, I have 7 tenths and 7 hundredths, right? 77 total hundredths still means that there are 10 tenths. There are tenths that are filled in there. Okay, so 77 hundredths. All right, let's do another one. Let's look at this model. Here we have the hundredths grid, all broken into 100 pieces. How many are filled in? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 1, 2, 3. So here we have 53 out of 100. And notice I still counted these as tenths. I counted the tens, right? Because they are tenths. But altogether, when you count tenths, you get hundredths too. You can count your hundredths as tenths. So we do 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 1, 2, 3. But these are just a decimal. So we're going to go 53 hundredths. We put in my box. And we're going to go 0 whole and 53 hundredths. Notice that puts the 5 in the tenths place, and your 3 lands right where it should. Next one. Now we have money. So let's see what we've got. Notice money is the same thing. Money is parts of a dollar. Coins are parts of a dollar. So we go 25, 50, 60, 1, 2. 62 out of 100, right? 62 cents out of a dollar. So in decimal form, let me slide that over. Slide the whole thing over. You say 0 whole and 62. And your last one here, we have, I'm going to say, I already know it's almost 100. So I'm going to take off that 10, and that would make, these both would make 80. It's right here. So right here's 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87. So we have 87 out of 100. Right? 0 and 87. So it's not as tricky as it looks. Let's see. Now I'm going to trash that. Come back up, we're going to trash that. Come back up, we're going to trash it. We're going to come back up and we're going to trash it. Let's see what our next page says. Last one. This is a good word problem, so I do want you to hear this, okay? And then I'll let you go. All right, Leslie took 100 shots on the basketball court. The number of shots Leslie made is represented in the hundredths chart shown. So here's Leslie's shots. Leslie that she made is represented here. Okay, Marlon also took 100 shots. So here's Marlon. He made 16 more shots than Leslie did. Shade the hundredth chart shown for Marlon to represent the number of shots made. Write the decimal to represent each person. Okay, so let's start here. So here's Leslie's shots. We have to write her decimal first. So she has 10, 20, 30, 40, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So she has 45 out of 100. She made 45 hundredths. So she made 45 out of 100 shots. I'm going to slide her box down a little. Come down here, box. Maybe not. Maybe the box does not want to cooperate. Here you go. Okay, so she made, her decimal is 45 out of 100. Okay, so she made 45 hundredths out of her shots. Okay, so, but it says now Marlon made 16 more shots than she did. So if we're going to do Marlon, Marlon gets this whole row, like her. He gets 10, 20, 30. I can probably make my thing a little wider. Let's do that again. So he gets 10, 20, 30. He gets the same 45, right? 40. And then he gets 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just like her, right? So I'm going to scribble this all in. He gets this whole 45 just like her. But how many more does he get? 16 more, right? And some of you are very fast, and you can add 16 to that 45 really quickly. Your mental math is really good, Okay, so what I'm going to do here is, I know I'm at 45. I'm going to add the 6 from 16 and then maybe 10 more. Okay, so, or we could add a full 10 first and then the 6. So I'm going to go 5 takes me to the end, and then I'm going to do a 10, 5, and then a 10, and I still need one more because 5 and 10 is 15, and then I need one more. He just has one more right here. So here's Marlon. He got the 5, he got a 10, and then he gets one more. So now Marlon, a little harder to see here because I colored it so beautifully. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. Okay, so now Marlon has 0.61. My coloring is not so beautiful when you use a dark color. Let's learn that. Don't use dark colors. Okay, and if you did the math and did 45 plus 16, you would see that 61 was your answer, right? So he has 61 hundredths is the decimal or the fraction. 61 out of 100 would be how many shots he made, because he made 16 more than Leslie, and that's okay. All right, so today you are going to either be shading in a model, you're going to be writing the decimal for the hundredths, and they may ask you to do word form. Okay, have some fun with parts out of 100.